important.
Yeah, you're right. So before anybody watches the video today, I got on my free Assange hat and my WikiLeaks shirt because Assange is going back to trial this week. I think it was delayed. It was supposed to start this summer
Yeah.
because of COVID. I really don't have an idea of how Assange's health is, other than the last person I know who saw him, who made a public statement, was his partner and mother of his children, and I think a former member, if not a current member of his legal team, Stella Morris, said that he was in pain. But there's been some great, kind of reporting on this. And I got two articles up here now, one from Nozomi Hayase and the other from Jonathan Cook. And these are both at antiwar.com, and I'll make sure to put the links in the show notes page. But they do a pretty good job. I think the Hayase article does a better job of like going into the details of what Assange is currently facing. 17 counts, 175 years. The Espionage Act being used against the journalist. Whereas the the Jonathan Cook article does a much better job of going through like the past and the lies about Assange, and his work over the years has been so important, and also details how he was spied on during his time in the Ecuadorian embassy. I mean, this is a crazy scandal. People called Julian Assange paranoid and said he was a nut for claiming the U.S. was spying on him. But no, really, they were spying on him even in the women's bathroom of, his little embassy studio apartment thing he lived in for a few years. And, so all that was in there. And then, of course, the great work, Cook really highlights of Nils Melzer, who is a UN special rapporteur on torture. This guy's like a real expert on torture, and you've been around a lot of victims of torture, and he says that Julian Assange shows clear signs of prolonged psychological torture. So, Will, I'll let you jump in and add what you have here. I thought the most important thing was that we talk about it on the show today, because there's going to be updates through it about the week, and we should be talking, all of us should be talking and sharing stuff about this throughout the week, because this is just such an important trial that's, I think, going to have a lot of meat of it be coming up in the coming week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you did a good job summarizing some of it there. Just the, Assange situation. For people who may not remember, this is all in relation to Assange, to the WikiLeaks publication of the Iraq and Afghan war logs that were leaked by Chelsea Manning back in 2010 while she was still back in the military. She was in the army and she leaked this stuff. And so, yeah, the U.S. has now charged Julian Assange for that, and they're trying to get the U.K. to hand him over. So that's what this hearing on Monday is going to start to decide. I think they expect it to go on for a couple of weeks, so it's not like this will all happen on Monday. But the process is now resuming to see him maybe handed over to the U.S. And if we look at some of the preliminary hearings, like back earlier this year over the winter, it was pretty obviously slanted against Julian Assange. I mean, like, he was kept in this like glass cage thing, like he's like Hannibal Lecter or something, or a terrorist or whatever, where he can't hear what's going on when he's in this thing. And I believe they intend to put him back in that thing this time. And they've confiscated his legal documents. They didn't really let him confer with his lawyers and his legal counsel. And so he's kind of just like a bit like alone in all this. Like he has legal counsel, but he's not really able to like confer with them, and again, can't really hear what's even going on around him. And so, like, if that's anything to go by, then like this hearing resuming, it's not going to be very good for Assange, I think.
And on top of that, he's some level of unwell through all this, like physical
Right.
health unwell. We know
Yeah.
he had prolonged, I think, shoulder and dental issues while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. That they never let him go see a doctor or anything, so he can't get any of it worked on. So I'm sure all that's getting worse in prison. I don't think the maximum security Belmarsh prison in the UK is any example of where people go to get good health care. So I'm sure he's not getting what he needs. And then again, just all that plus the psychological torture. And I'm sure, still not getting very much exposure to sunlight or just human interaction, which he desperately needs, and we all do.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you, dude, dental issues, like, people in the audience may have had some of those before. I've had a lot throughout my childhood and throughout my life. It can be horrifically painful, like debilitatingly painful. Like, if you have an abscess or something, I forget exactly what Assange's dental problem was, but these things can be, it's not just like a cavity or something. This could be like a, debilitatingly painful condition, dental stuff. And so just to point that out.
Right.
But in this hearing, I believe what the UK government, or excuse me, what the pro extradition side has to argue, I think it's American representatives, they have to argue that the UK has laws that are, that Assange is being charged under American laws that are compatible with laws in the UK. And so I think that's part of the major argument that the pro extradition side has to make here, is that, like, hey, we're not extraditing him on some like weird Sharia law thing, or like that's why these rules are in place, to make sure that he can't be extradited on the basis of some weird law that's totally incompatible with the UK. Unfortunately, though, the UK, I don't think has like any blanket, like, I don't think they have the equivalent of a First Amendment, like a blanket protection for the free press. And then not to mention they have something called the Official Secrets Act, which is very akin to the U.S. Espionage Act, which I think Assange is the first American, or not even, he's not even American. He's the first person in the U.S. legal system to be charged under the Espionage Act, the first journalist. Even though, despite the fact he's Australian and, he was outside of the U.S. when he published this stuff.
Right. I think
like
the first for publishing information rather than leaking it, where,
Right.
Jeremy Hammond, John Kiriakou, Chelsea Manning, Snowden, et cetera, it's for leaking, but he just published it. So he's doing what the New York Times did with, and some of this, the case. So maybe if you don't mind taking a quick detour here, Will, what they're, I guess, alleging that Assange did to try to make it different from what the New York Times did. They say that he encouraged and helped Chelsea Manning with the leak, which there was an extensive investigation, and there's absolutely very little to no evidence that Assange actually did anything that helped Chelsea Manning leak the information. There's some allegations that he helped Chelsea Manning devise some kind of way to access the data that wouldn't compromise Manning's identity, but it wasn't helping, Chelsea access a higher level of data or more data. It was just to help that person do it in a way that's anonymous, which if you listen to like old interviews of Bob Perry or Seymour Hersh, that's just journalistic practices. You help your, source stay anonymous if that's what they want and that's what you could do. And so there's that. And I guess they also allege that, Julian Assange encouraged the leaking or something like that, which again, these people say that, hey, this is what we do. And so, it's very hard to differentiate what they're actually charging Assange for and what like the New York Times or the Washington Post would do. And so I don't know, that to me is just shocking, because for as much as they talk about Trump's war on journalists at CNN and Rachel Maddow, silence on Assange.
Yeah, that's right. I believe the Obama administration had actually decided, like, they declined to pursue charges against Assange because they said this very thing, that there's like the New York Times standard that, like, we can't go after this guy if he's doing something that's indistinguishable from what the Times would be doing in terms of, like just procuring and publishing information. And so, the UK government, they have to try to, or excuse me, the pro extradition side, the prosecution in this case, has to make the argument that the UK and the US have sort of similar laws. And it seems like they're going to sort of be able to do that just on the basis of like the official secrets thing versus the Espionage Act. But as you kind of mentioned, like, I think Assange's side, his counsel are going to be arguing, like, they're going to be citing his bad health and how, the extradition could like very negatively impact that if he's being moved to like a long distance or something to another facility in the US. And I think they're also going to say that this is a politically motivated thing. And they're saying that like espionage inherently is political, like the espionage charges. And they're going to try to like urge the UK, I think, to not take a side in this and like, in what is inherently a political matter. And so I think that's sort of the approach they're going to take. However, I must say, I'm not that confident that like this is going to turn out good for Assange. Like, just seeing what had happened previously in the preliminary hearings, I don't see this turning out good for Julian Assange. I'm not super. I think it would be sort of unreasonable to expect that he would now get fair treatment all of a sudden after all this. So I don't know. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I definitely agree. I'm not optimistic about it. In fact, I've heard John Kiriakou even say that the real way we're going to save Assange is through jury nullification in the U.S. Essentially, just hope you get 1 in 12 on the jury that understands what jury nullification is and who won't vote to convict Assange. And so, I guess maybe if we run out the clock here, I'm sure that if we do get to November and the Biden administration signals to the UK that they're not very interested in going through with this, then maybe, something like that could happen. I'm not sure how the politics plays out leading up to the election. Although if you talk to anybody, like, on the left, this stuff right here, the Assange, the WikiLeaks, these are the bad guys now. Even though he's being prosecuted for exposing George Bush era crimes, George Bush is now, the good guy in their eyes. And so they really don't care. And in fact, Assange has since, from their point of view, helped the Russians and helped Vladimir Putin, help Donald Trump win the election. And so now they're evil. And
it's a non-state intelligence agency or something, like Pompeo said. That's like the liberal stance on him now.
Yeah, and didn't like Hillary Clinton openly amused about droning the guy, so
yeah, that's right.
It's not very optimistic in a lot of ways, I guess. Although maybe the politics play out in a certain way coming up to the election here. I mean, if you look at what we talked about first, the standard thing that it seems that a large portion of the just the political in spectrum entirety, including the LP Twitter, they've called Trump derangement syndrome. And so if they're that deranged about Trump, maybe they will incorporate this in his war on journalism and take a stand on the issue. And that would be nice to see. But again, I'm not very optimistic, and Trump has certainly been worse on this than even Obama, who was a complete coward on the issue and could have, just been like full pardon for Assange. Like, thank you for exposing the war crimes that my predecessor committed, and now I'm going to take that information and try to help foreign prosecutions because they tortured a whole bunch of people. But
just to add something here before we get to the slightly better news, I will pile on to some of the worst news. At unfortunately, the People's Convention, this very progressive event that was held by, you had all kinds of Bernie people there.
Jimmy Dore spoke at it. Marianne Williams, I both saw them speak at it. So that's kind of the crowd.
Yeah, and fairly big names, like you're saying, too. But unfortunately, at this whole People's Convention, and they've since acknowledged this and apologized, but the name Julian Assange wasn't mentioned a single time during this entire thing. They talked all about all this progressive stuff, but couldn't find a 10 seconds to mention Julian Assange and his plight. And so I think that kind of reflects just where he is, where we are with Assange, and where how important of an issue that is for a lot of people who consider themselves left or activists or progressives or whatever. Unfortunately.
Well, let's, I guess, just round out this conversation why mentioning this is so important, especially to me and you, is because anybody who publishes classified information now is subject to the Espionage Act. That's a scary situation because I don't count myself along the ranks of Assange or Greenwald or anything like that. However, if anybody did, want to say call me up and be like, hey, Kyle, I got this important information that shows government corruption. Hell, I'll do everything I can to get that published. You know what I mean? That's I think what me and you are set out to do, and what the right thing to do is. But you were saying the standard that is punishable by law, and so that's definitely something we need to fight against. And again, you would just think in the age of Trump, this would be such a home run for the left or for the LP, and a lot of silence. Now, let's again switch over to the good news, I guess, Will, and talk about this court ruling that kind of vindicates Edward Snowden. So, a little bit of a different whistleblower subject here. Snowden leaked to Greenwald and the Washington Post, not to WikiLeaks. However, he was assisted in getting from Hong Kong in an attempt to get to Ecuador, but they helped him get out of Hong Kong or Beijing or wherever he was and about to be arrested and get him on a plane, which was eventually, he was forced to get stuck in Russia then. But Assange was critical to helping Assange was critical to helping Snowden get out of Hong Kong. So to talk about Snowden a little bit and just what this really means, and I saw him